their case. Number 4, the eager beaver. Jonathan, I've been told by my manager to tone down my comments and meetings as he feels that I'm sounding to nitpick on everything. So you're sounding like everything has a fault, something needs to be called out. And the person says, I disagree on this because I get a lot of feedback from my colleagues who were grateful that I was vocal to suggest. Should I follow my boss and keep quiet instead? So I'm going to throw this again to our viewers. Could you please type? What would your answer be? Would you shut up? Would you ignore your manager's request? Or would you like perhaps balance, tone down it a bit, but still continue mentioning something? Right? So here are, again, a set of considerations. While you're typing your answers in the chat box, here are a few things to consider. Number 1, this is my favorite tip. If you notice, if you see my pattern by now, it's always my default tip. Reflect on the mirror. Ask first if what you're feeling, what you're perceiving is only you, and do other people feel the same way? So are you overestimating your contribution? Because if you tell me that I should continue speaking up because I have some colleagues who appreciate it anyway, how many colleagues are those? Do they really mean it when they say that they appreciate your comments? Or maybe you're missing out that some people have been complaining already about you. And sometimes self-improvement starts with self-awareness. If you're dense that other people already have issues about you commenting on everything, ask that. Proactively ask some colleagues and say, hey, my manager tells this. Do you agree? What do you think about it? Do you think I should change? Right? Many times we don't know that it is how other people are already feeling because people are holding back and people just don't know how to say it to you. Right? Jaiza says, maybe the manner of speaking, as long as the intention is for the good of all. Thank you for raising that. That is part of my answers, actually. Number 2, perhaps, and Jaiza, this is what you've exactly mentioned. Perhaps the issue isn't the volume of comments. Perhaps it's about the choice of words. The choice of words may be harsh. The choice of words may be too negative. The choice of words may need to be minced to make it palatable in the ears of the people who are listening, right? So the manager is not questioning your intention. He's questioning your execution instead. All right. Can I get an exclamation mark if you can relate to that? Right. And I'm saying this because I've been guilty of this. When I was younger, I was too passionate about the project. So passionate that I shoot down other people's ideas, not because I want to offend them, but because I was protective that the project might not move on if people keep on nitpicking on it. When all the while, people were just commenting because they wanted what's best. They wanted to build on other people's ideas, right? And so I'm thankful I had managers and leaders who taught me better on how to do that. Number 2, manage the theater. I'm flipping the coin. Let's pretend that you really are using the right words, that your comments are very useful. So this is where you have to prove your manager wrong. So this is where the theater happens. Theater number 1, find ways for the manager to know that your colleagues have no issues with it and they appreciate your inputs. I'll give you an example. This happened to me. I can't remember when, but this happened to me in Malaysia in one of my companies. And so a manager told me that I was that Filipino guy who had an opinion for everything. And I disagree with it because, you know, putting out energy is not something that everyone does. I need to put out energy because I needed to raise that this issue was not good, that this idea wasn't good. So when I had some colleagues who sent me an email and say, hey, John, that was a very good idea and suggestion. Thank you for raising it in the meeting. If that was documented in the email, you know what I would do? I would reply to the person and say, thank you. If you have any other questions, please note that me and my team being my manager and my teammates, are here to help out. If you'd like to huddle for an extra meeting, we're here to help out. But you know what I do next? I copy my manager. So I have 2 intentions. On the surface, it looks like I'm engaging the colleague more, but the other hidden intention is to clap back to my manager and say, yes, I understand that you're probably want me to tone down, but I want you to see that there's also a silver lining to it, that there's a benefit, that I'm doing this because I'm getting reinforcements that other people are appreciating it. So if your manager gets to realize that he was wrong after all, perhaps he can also retract his own words. And no offense, nothing personal. He just needs to know some proof. Right? Ron says again, try to assess if they really need your comments considering the time, especially having a meeting with the senior team. Thank you for raising that. So here's the other part on reflecting on a mirror. Maybe your comments are very helpful, but it's prolonging the meeting too much. Or sometimes your comments are helpful, but they were the same things that other people said. And so you just rephrased it and you look like you're just echoing someone else's statement. You're not value adding, you're just prolonging the meeting. So be careful, because if you're not self-aware, you might not catch that you are going to be that nuisance member in the meeting. Finally, number 2, here's the last recommendation. If you're really passionate about giving some comments and you think that, yes, I might be prolonging the meeting, I might making it complex, you might want to consider sharing it instead after the meeting. So when people are just about to leave, say, hey, John, can I have a word with you? I also thought this and this and this. I didn't raise it anymore in the meeting because perhaps you guys have thought about it. But just in case, here are my 2 cents because I'm also invested in your project. Right? So you're able to get your objective, but you didn't need to disturb the meeting if people feel that you are disturbing them. All right, can I get an exclamation mark if you can relate to that? Right? Look at the people also around you. If you're the only one who's the most passionate, who's the most vocal, it means you're a standout. But ask yourself, why am I a standout? Is it because the culture of the company is like this? Right? Is it because if you guys watched Emily in Paris on Netflix, can I get a letter E if you've seen that? Very good film. It's a very good film about understanding culture and working habits of people from different countries. I think this was episode 2 or episode 3 when one of the French fellow employees of Emily says, Emily, we're not literally mad at you. I think you're a good person. But the only reason why we don't like you to be in the office is because you're shaking things up. And that means that we are now going to work harder. And we don't want that because the French people don't want to spend too much time in the office. So see, there was another reason there. The intention being they just don't want to work as hard as the Americans, right? And I agree with that.